My name is Filyes, and it's amazing how fast these 3 years have gone by. It was almost 3 years ago to the day that I first visited the Master's Seminary and sat right over there. And it's amazing how God has worked in my life and brought me to this place. If I can give a quote that would explain my time here, it'd be from Charles Spurgeon. If we give God service, it must be because He gives us grace. We work for Him because He works in us. I was saved at a young age, grew up in a Christian household with godly Christian parents, and I went all the way through middle school, high school, not really understanding what God's call in my life was. So I went to a Bible college, still uncertain of what God had for me. Graduated Bible college, still uncertain of what God had for me. And so being who I was, I decided, well, I don't know what God has for me, so I'm going to go play basketball. That's what I'm good at, so I figured this would be something to do for me. But before I pursued basketball by going over to Germany, I had a talk with my pastor. And he told me, Brian, I really think you should think about seminary. Now, if anybody knew me in Bible college, this is the last thing on my mind. I remember specifically telling my friends, I'm never going to seminary, never doing any more school. I'm done with it. But my pastor kind of put that bug in my ear, and I took off and went to Germany. And that bug really never went away. That bug just kind of stayed there. And I remember while in Germany praying, what is this, God? Is basketball what you have for me? Or is seminary and a life of ministry and service, is that what you have for me? It was the service. A few weeks later, I flew back to Wisconsin, and I enrolled in seminary. Thankfully, our church had an extension site with Southern, and so I enrolled in that. And my plan was do that 5 years, work, and kind of get through that, and then go from there. But after about a semester of it, I realized that's not enough. I need to be immersed in this. I need to really go full time into this. And because it was an extension of Southern, and I was at a Southern Baptist church, I thought, Southern, that's where I'm going to go. It's cheaper, it's simple, it's where I really want to go. And I had no idea about Masters and really no plan for it. But God had a different plan. About spring of that year, about 3 years ago, I had a spring break coming up, and I had a friend who was supposed to come in town, so I took vacation, and we were going to have a good time. The week before that, he canceled. So it just all fell apart. So now I'm sitting here thinking, well, I've got this vacation, nowhere to go, and it's in Wisconsin. It's freezing cold outside, so I think I want to go to California. So I called my pastor up, and I said, hey, I think I want to go visit, this Master Seminary that you've told me so much about, just to see, it's somewhere to go. So he set it all up, and I flew out here. Didn't take more than 5 minutes of me being on this campus for me to know that this is where God was calling me, that this is where God wanted me. So that time I had out here was great. Went back home, sent in my application. 2 months later in June, or 3 months later in June, packed up my car and moved out here. You should probably wait till you get your acceptance letter before moving out, but I figured, what the heck, I'll come on out. And through that time, I can speak so much about the God's grace and goodness in my life. I could tell you about the time when I moved out here. I had a job all lined up. I had my previous employer had agreed to make me a satellite office out here. And so I thought, great, I have this job. It'll pay for seminary. This is awesome. Moved out here, and they told me, no, we actually aren't going to do that. And so no longer I had no job. I'm like, okay, God, I know you brought me out here. I know this is where I'm supposed to be. But how am I going to pay for seminary? How am I even supposed to live? And so I kept praying and praying. And when there was $12 left in my account, and I'm sitting here going, okay, God, I'm really lost here. He gave me a job and provided. And then shortly after that, He provided a job here at the church that also allowed me to pay for seminary. But that's not the greatest grace and goodness that God's given in my life. The greatest goodness and grace God has given is my wife, who I met here shortly after coming out here. She's been my best friend, my confidant, and I can truly say I would never have made it through seminary without her. She means everything to me, and I'm so glad that God has graced me this way. But if I could give an encouragement to you, men, something as I look back at my time in seminary, is I know we are busy, and I know we have so many demands and things in our life, but really cultivate your relationships with your brothers, your relationships with your friends. Because I've met so many guys here who I know will be my brothers for life. And they're the men that I will rely on and we encourage each other as we go through our life. As far as my future plans, as of right now, me and my wife are praying through possible additional schooling, whether it's to THM or pursuing a PhD eventually. So that is what we are planning on. Thank you.